This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm talking about how to spot and stop financial scams. Today, I want to talk about practicing good online hygiene. Unfortunately, scams and data breaches are so common. Nobody seems to care anymore, and there's no accountability for literally millions of pieces of sensitive information about all of us that is now available freely for scammers to easily use. And you combine that with the amount of information now available about most people online through social media, and you have a recipe for disaster. Even though you cannot prevent your information from leaking out from sources that should be legitimate, should have protected your information, but they got hacked and leaked. I forget what it was. There was some company, it affected like a good portion of the US population, where it had multiple data points about your age, your social, your address, and it was all leaked online. And I don't think it was reported for like months afterwards, and like nothing happened. That sounds fair. Your information is out there, whether you like it or not. And there are some things that you don't have control over, like your sensitive information from legitimate sources being leaked. But there are things that you do have control over. And one of the most important things is to just practice some good online hygiene to help ensure that scammers can't use that information against you or making it harder for them to use it against you. So if I have your sensitive information, it's much easier for me to gain access to your bank account, other financial accounts, your email address, even social media profiles, etc. So one of the most important things that you could do, I would say the most important thing that you can and should do, and you have no excuse to not do it because it's super easy to set up, is using a password manager and in conjunction with that, multi-factor authentication. So that's where you have to enter a special code or they'll send you a text message. And you want to set these up for pretty much all. I have it set up on like all bank accounts, financial accounts, things like that. I even have it set up for like Facebook and LinkedIn and things like that to ensure that people cannot fraudulently get access into my social media profiles, etc. So the multi-factor authentication, you want to set that up for pretty much any site that would contain sensitive information, definitely your financial accounts. I know it's an extra step. I know it's a hassle to have to enter a code or get a text message, but it helps keep you safe because unless that person also has your phone, they're not going to be able to log into your bank account. Okay, the second piece of this password security, the importance of passwords, is using a password manager. Now, there's several services out there. There's LastPass. I think it's called 1Password. Basically, how it works is all you have to remember is a strong, unique master password. That's it, 1Password, because that password gets you into your vault, basically, where all of your passwords live. And that way, if you use a password manager, you can have a unique password for every single website that you use, because the problem here is that we can't remember passwords. So we do stupid things like we put them on our phone where it's not secure. We write them down and have them sitting on our desk where anybody who comes in our home could have access to them. We use the same password like 40 times. If you are using the same password on your financial investment accounts, your 401k, your bank accounts, even just repeating a password in a couple of different spots opens the door, because all they have to do, first of all, it's not hard to guess passwords. Most people use really bad, very weak passwords, even for secure. It'll be like, don't use password 1. Don't use your dog's name followed by your year of birth, which I know like half of you are doing that, because they're so easy for people to guess. And guess what? They can figure out your dog's name too, just by skimming your social media profile. Using a password manager allows you to create a unique password that you don't have to remember and store that and save that, keep it secure. And then that way, if a scammer somehow guesses your password for say your email address, that would be very bad. But if they guess it for one site, all they do is they just plug it into a bunch of different other sites where they think that you may have your bank accounts, and boom, they're in, especially if you don't have multi-factor authentication. If you have the same password on your bank account as some other site and they guess that password, then they just go and enter it everywhere that they think that is going to give them a hit. And if you don't have the multi-factor authentication on top of a unique password, you're just opening the door for scammers to get access to your accounts and commit fraud. And a lot of times you don't have any recourse in that at all. I went on a long ways for that because I do think it is probably the most important thing that you can do. Another one is avoiding public Wi-Fi. If you're in an airport, a coffee shop, a hotel, be very, very cautious. A lot of times what scammers will do is they'll sit there and they'll create their own Wi-Fi network and pose as the legitimate one where you are. Also, over public Wi-Fi, it's very easy for someone to see what you're doing. So you never want to use public Wi-Fi if you're doing anything sensitive, like if you're checking your bank account, if you're doing any sort of transaction, logging into anything where you wouldn't want the other person. If you don't want the other person to see everything that you're doing, don't use public Wi-Fi. If you're in a situation like you're traveling, but you're working or you need to do that, there are VPNs that you can utilize. I use the hotspot on my phone fairly often. It drains your battery. It's not a long-term solution, but if you need to do something really quick, there are just certain situations where it's like, I need to use the internet right now and I need to be on my laptop and do that. And so a VPN, hotspot on your phone, I have both. I use both. And it ensures that no one else can see what you're browsing and that your Wi-Fi remains secure. I mentioned this already in the week, but never sharing sensitive information via text, email, social media, especially social media. I cringe all the time when I go through my feed on social media and I see what people are sharing because it just opens the door. You think that you're sharing with just your friends, but like, how many of you have gone through your friend list recently and like how many people on there are people you actually know? And also it's not hard for this information to get out from just sharing with your close-knit friend group. A lot of people on Facebook have like 1,000 friends. There's lots of people, even if I go on my own Facebook where I have a lot less friends, that I'm like, who are you? Why? I don't remember how I became friends with this person or who they are even. Another one is freezing your credit. Now that sounds like a pain, but what it does is it prevents someone from opening accounts or applying for a mortgage in your name or opening a credit card, opening a bank account, things like that. So that's the safest way. At the very least, if you're not willing to freeze your credit, because you can always reopen your credit at any time. Like if you needed to apply for a mortgage or a car loan or something like that. If you're not willing to freeze your credit, you at least want to check your credit report regularly. And you can do this for free now. And the last bit of advice for online hygiene is whenever you are shopping online, use a service like PayPal or Apple Pay or some other service like that where it's on a bunch of different sites. And that way you're not entering and storing your credit card information on like 100 different sites. You can go through a secure platform like Apple Pay or PayPal, pay through there. It's encrypted. I like using those types of services when I'm shopping on a website where I don't shop there multiple times. I know I'm maybe never going to shop there again. I don't know how legitimate or secure this website is, so I don't want to give them my information. So whenever it's an option, I will typically use one of those pay services like PayPal or Apple Pay. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Michike, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.